Good evening, everyone. This hearing is for a conditional use application submitted by the Grafton Cheese Company at 2568 Route 103, the old Black River Produce Building. The proposed improvements are within the floodway as defined in the Cavendish flood hazard regulations, which require a conditional use hearing with the Cavendish Planning Commission. That's section 6D. Warnings were posted on February 14th on the town's website, posting board, and published in the Vermont Journal the week of February 17th. So the way the hearing is going to go, we'll hear testimony from representatives from the Grafton Cheese Company. Following will be questions and comments from the Planning Commission. And then anyone else on Zoom or in the audience can raise their hand, be recognized by me. Once the hearing is closed, we have 45 days to make a decision. So with that being said, anybody wishing to speak other than the Planning Commission, do we have to take the oath? So whoever wishes to speak, they want to raise their right hand. Yeah, okay. Part of the protocol. Okay, do you solemnly state under the penalty of perjury that the evidence that you shall give in this issue or matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, we're all good. All right. I guess everybody's read the permit application. I mean, do you have anything else you'd like to add to the hearing?
Not that I can think of at this time.
Okay. So we do have a letter of approval from the Vermont A&R approving the project. They did fill out an application. The proposed project, the amount expended on the project is less than 50% of the value of the building. And from what I understand, there's not going to be any exterior improvements, fill or anything like that, propane tanks, anything within the floodway. I don't know, is that something that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I don't know, Rick, is that?
Not that I was told no.
Okay.
There's no improvements there's no pavement going in, there's nothing like that, so.
Okay. Does any of the board have any questions, comments? Okay. What we can do, we can either recess the hearing and go into deliberations, or we can vote on it right now to approve the project if that's the board's wish.
I'm ready to vote.
I'm ready to vote.
I'm ready to vote.
Okay, I'll need a motion then from the board.
I'll file a motion that we're ready to vote. I will second it then.
Okay. All right, so I think we need to make a motion, though, on what we're voting for.
We're voting to approve the application.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's your motion?
Yes.
Okay, second? All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion is passed. You're on your way.
That was easy.
That was easy.
Woo, that's exciting.
But necessary.
Right.
Very necessary.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Good.
Okay,
If I may add,
sure.
when I get the letter from the Planning Commission stating that with approval, then we'll, sign the permit. I'll get in touch with them. We have to post it for 15 days here, and then it's good.
Okay, wonderful. Great.
And what was your name one more time?
Sherry DiBernardo,
How do you spell that?
D-I, capital B-E-R-N-A-R-D-O. Cherries with a Y.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right, motion to conclude the hearing?
I'll make the motion to conclude the hearing.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're done.
Okay.
Yes.
All set. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
When you
Okay.
talk to Karen, let her know I'll be in touch.
All righty, so now we're going to go on to our regular monthly planning commission meeting. Adjust the agenda. Does anybody have any adjustments?
No, I don't.
I don't think I do. Here, citizens. Do we have any citizens on Zoom? Okay. I guess Rick doesn't have anything.
No.
Okay. All right. So item 4, we'll go ahead and approve the meeting minutes from, what month are we? Is that January's? Yeah. January meeting minutes. Not sure where they went. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the January meeting minutes?
No.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes as written.
A second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, moving on to item 5, continued discussion on the impacts of short-term rentals on the town and short-term rental regulations.
I do. Obviously, I think all of you know that my wife Betty is a real estate broker and has been one since 1979. So she's seen a lot of real estate change hands in the region. And I continually ask her about this stuff, about short-term rentals. And her recommendation, or what she said to me, is that she said there's always been short-term rentals.
Mhm.
Even had companies in Ludlow like Strictly Rentals, operating vacation rentals. So her recommendation is leave it alone, don't do anything. I'm just putting that out there.
There's a long history in Ludlow and Vermont, some of the oldest of record of doing this kind of stuff. It's something that if you go ahead and limit or restrict rental operations through, obviously we don't have zoning, but if you do it through a percentage or, you're probably going to end up in some sort of a lawsuit. It's happening in Burlington. It's happening across the country. If you, so that's one thing. I think it's tough to limit it. It's possible, but it definitely brings a lot of baggage. I think if you're going to do anything, you want to have some teeth behind it, and hey, you don't want to add any additional restriction, but just say, hey, these are, take what's existing with the fire code that, you're already supposed to follow, the
Yes.
septic stuff that you're already supposed to follow. And I do think that long-term is part of that. It's something in Ludlow that's been a discussion, but the apartment that I'm living in, no permits were filed, not up to code. It wasn't until the flood happened that, this stuff needs to be addressed. But especially for a smaller town, it's going to be hard to get that the buy-in from the public, because it definitely comes across as, hey, we're not allowing you to use your property, and it comes down to this property rights thing. And if you look at some of the data that some of the state organizations have, VSTRA specifically, Vermont Short-Term Rental Alliance, there's not the correlation between housing and short-term rentals is not as large as you think. If you said, hey, no more short-term rentals, you'd get a handful of properties back into local housing. So I think in Cavendish and Ludlow too is if you're going to do it, make sure you do it right. Don't put in those additional restrictions. And if you're not going to do it, an education piece could be a great first step of just educating the folks that have them. Hey, just so you know, you are required to, to have things up to code, even though it's a a single family home that doesn't have a building code, as soon as you're renting, your smoke alarms need to be up to code and egress windows and things like that. But it definitely is as soon as you kind of go down that realm, I think, you see it in Chester and in Plymouth, where they kind of jumped on something and now they're, it's tough to follow through with some of that. But as someone in the industry, definitely for the registry, just enforcing the existing regulations.
Yes.
But I think doing it the right way to start is pretty key.
Well, if you have some property that you own that's suitable for short-term rentals, and I do, although I'm not right now, I have a responsibility to go through labor and industry, or the Department of Safety now. They don't really call it labor and industry any longer. And they will check on smoke detectors, and they will check on the size of the windows for exits and things. I know because I went through it in the apartment house,
Yeah.
a little duplex that we own. So the fact that someone doesn't want to obey the law does not mean that you have to have an overarching regulation in town to make them obey a law. The law's already on the books.
They're going to break it anyway. So, Rick, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm just curious on, because I agree, I don't believe the intent was to restrict any new short-term rentals. And I was wondering if the board was talking about restriction or thinking more on the lines of a registry. A registry allows the town to get a better feel for the resources of water, sewer, transfer station. That was my thought that was a possibility. And has the board looked at that part, not restricting, but just more of we kind of need to know what's out there. Not saying you can't do it with your property, but if you do, register so we know.
Well, this is something that Jeff Strange and I talked about after the last meeting is, it's great that we have two representatives from the select board, because you asked us to look into this or develop a proposal, and we would have liked more guidance, as in, which is what you kind of, gave us right now. But are we coming from a safety aspect, or are we coming from a avenue like some of these other neighboring towns did, is restricting, in a number in a square mile, number on certain, neighborhoods and things of that nature. So I think from an avenue of safety, which Noah touched on and Bruce touched on, which you already have to go through, right, Bruce, like you were saying?
That goes to the state.
Yeah. If you're going to have an establishment,
You're collecting money.
be it
You're collecting a fee for somebody to stay.
yeah,
in
be it a
property that
normal
you own,
landlord-tenant relationship or going through VRBO or Airbnb, you have to have certain things up to code and things of that nature.
Yep.
So my question is, are we going to approach this proposal like we did the subdivision proposal, because we don't have zoning? Do you want us to draft something like that? Or do we approach it from safety so that we know, like Plymouth approached it from safety, we need to know, have a firebox key to access, the premises, because they were getting a bunch of false alarms, and that was their approach. So I'm all for approaching this from an avenue of safety and in that regard, and not restriction, which is, I think, where a lot of these other towns are failing in their, proposal or their attempt to identify how many properties they have, or a registry. Even a registry, I think, is also kind of, could be like a derogatory thing. Well, again, it's Vermont. I can do what I want to with my property. Why do I need to, put myself on there on a registry list? No one else has to, kind of thing. So I think that's something that we really, really need to be careful about.
It's my understanding, if we're going to develop a registry, we'd have to do a lot of homework first, figure out how many rental properties there are in town.
We need an administrator.
So
It would have
that's
to
where
be-
it kind of comes down a lot of like why, if you're not restricting anything, why even have, because it's a lot of resources of keeping up with, okay, who's doing what. And I think a lot of people just don't know that, oh, hey, you need to do this kind of stuff, especially if you're just renting for, a few weekends here and there or things like that. But there are companies that will come and give a presentation of what they do. But they basically will, they'll look on Airbnb, VRBO. Here are the listings in Cavendish. They'll cross-reference that with the property information that the town has. Okay, here's this address. It's a, whatever you're paying taxes on a 2-bedroom, but it's saying, oh, it's a 3-bedroom that sleeps 12 people. Well, they have a sewer allotment for 4 people, or so it allows you to do those certain things. But it comes with a cost, obviously, and that's where, hey, you're charging $200 a year or whatever that magic number is, and okay, that's able to fund that service, and it's pretty. They have a lot to offer where, hey, it can be a hotline where if people have issues, they can call this hotline and relay that to the town. And there are ways to do it where, hey, you don't have to have, the administration doesn't have to come out of this office. But obviously you're going to be paying a premium for that.
Mm-hmm.
But they will help you draft ordinances, and what Miguel was touching on of like, what is the goal? In some communities, it's, it's the well-being of the town, the character of the town. It could be safety. It could be tax revenue. But just kind of figuring out what the goal is out of there. All of this information is public. I could tell you right now how many listings there are in Cavendish, and you can, it's pretty easy to spot, hey, these guys are in violation or whatever. But they will help with that of, hey, you register, here's your information, here's your proof of your fire inspection, or you're signing off, hey, I'm self-certifying that I'm safe. And, so there are ways to really get around that administration burden of the town, and have those fees, cover that cost.
I think the infrastructure of the town, is, kind of something that we need to lead with, because at this time of year, the peak ski season, we experience a lot of issues with our water supply. Right, Mr. Chambers?
There can be, yeah.
And so if the market for these short-term rentals is only going to increase. So if we have a lot more properties, that are going to go from, just part-time, second homes to really full-time investment properties where it's a continuous use of public utilities and public infrastructure, that's different from it being a second home and it being occupied, whatever percentage time of the year. And again, I think if we want to identify those properties and help us plan for the future of our infrastructure, that way we can maintain, the services to the people, but also, service that growing industry, which in turn does supply jobs. You have people who need those homes refurbished. You need those homes, plowed. You need those homes cleaned, and that is a niche market for this area that where it's hard to find jobs. So again, I think the approach is very keen, and our language needs to be sensitive, but also very straightforward, and everybody can understand our approach as a town where others have failed.
I think all the work that you guys and all the discussion that this board is having on this it's very valuable. And it might even, as a board, you may even decide to go back to the select board and say, our recommendation is, we don't do anything. Or it might say, it could be, because you guys have touched on a lot and discussed it a lot. And I mean, that could be the end.
Yeah.
And if that's the case and the board wants to see something different, they would say something at that time. But
But I mean, are we looking at, are we having some serious discussions about our water supply at certain times of the year?
as for what?
Just,
in general?
in general, the peak season of the snow season?
We've had this last year, we had a couple times where we worried about water. During those peak season, we also encountered water leaks. So it's really hard to tell. Those water leaks, that can easily use thousands and thousands of gallons a day. So, so I can't answer for the complete past, but for this year, I know the few times that we did worry about it, and they happened to be during, Christmas break or February, we also had leaks that we found as well. So, but I mean, we are a small system though. So it's we don't have a lot of allocation left. So,
as Bruce McEnany's wife mentioned a meeting or so ago, that her opinion was that short-term rentals is just an evolution of real estate use, and she was not really in favor of addressing this in terms of rules and regulations.
She said,
Just letting it.
yeah, she said essentially, why are you worrying about it at this point?
But I do understand the importance of safety for both the customers and the homeowners, because there will be a few homeowners who will just rent out something without any qualms whatsoever and still be under the radar. And those are probably the ones that are most worry about. The others will, might be regulated in terms of the state rules and the safety and that sort of thing, and just go along with the protocol. But she was very, in her knowledge of real estate, her opinion was this was just it's a cyclical. It might be ongoing. It might get stronger, but I know all over the world, all over the United States, wherever there's a demand for a resort community, people are going to rent to other people to come in and to enjoy it. So,
Well, I'm all for developing a proposal for the select board, but again, I think it's counterproductive for you to just give us a general, come up with a proposal. Again, touching on the bullet points that we've all discussed here is, what type of proposal would you like us to come up with? Is it a proposal of a registry? Is it a proposal of, hey, we need to make sure that all these places are, a safe occupying, rental structure and things of that nature?
Well, yeah, we already have, if somebody's going to take an existing home on and perhaps think they're going to have a rental apartment out the back that they want to rent on a seasonal basis. It's obviously going to require some construction, and they're supposed to have a building permit for that. We require them in town. We already have these regulations in place. The state has regulations in place. I don't see how the creation of database for short-term rentals, who's going to administer it, where's the money going to come from in order to do it. I don't see it as a problem.
Yeah, and I'm with you there, Bruce. So I mean, if we already knock that off, that we already have safety regulations that are in place to for those things, then does it come down to first responder kind of avenue? Do we want a registry for first responder? Do we want to say, hey, we would really like for you to have a lockbox, so that we can access for first responder emergency purposes. So I think
that's a tricky one.
Yeah, again, Plymouth just tried that avenue.
Yeah.
Everywhere else is just they want to limit and restrict. So it's either, again, we've already crossed out the whole safety kind of avenue. We have the first responder kind of access, and then we don't want. Do we want to restrict? Do we want to force people to register? And have it possibly viewed as a negative connotation attached to their property. So again, that's kind of where we are.
Also, too, with regards to sewer and water, I mean, we're only talking about two villages or both villages, and I'm just not sure how many.
There's 120 that I see on the market data I have in Proctorsville.
Cavendish
But
and
not necessarily all on the system. 'Cause some
No, but they're in
people might-
Proctorsville.
Yeah, they
So,
could be out
Yeah,
on back roads on a septic.
yeah. But I don't know how
Yeah.
spanning Proctorsville is, but
Not that.
figure. We know what that is. Not that typical stuff, but we know
just Proctorsville,
we know how many
not
we know how many water meters are out there.
Yeah, there's 400 total between the two.
Yeah.
But I don't have it off the top of my head on what
but it's
just Proctorsville is.
We did
But
have-
You're right, a lot of them will be outside because Proctorsville is kind of the village.
we did have a time. It was probably in the late '80s, early '90s, where there was no building allowed within either village because the wastewater plant was built out. There was no more capacity, and it was just there are no sewer hookups available. So no, you can't build within the village. Then you remember that?
I don't remember that one.
Yeah. Then the second lagoon was built,
Right.
and the additional pumps, and then they started to issue out. Is it getting anywhere near capacity now?
I don't know the exact number on that one. I would think our biggest restriction would be water, not as much sewer too. So
Okay.
I feel like a good, I mean, we could say, hey, no, we don't want to do it. Great. If you wanted to come back to the select board and say, hey, this is the research we did. This is what we think. Inviting a company like Granicus, who's that third party, they can. They did a presentation one though. They looked and said, okay, this is how many rentals you have. This is where they're mostly located. Gives you an idea of the occupancy levels, the average rates, and that could be a good stepping stone of saying like, hey, this is where we have 120 in the village of Proctorsville. Okay, that could be an impact to sewer and water, or they could come back and say, oh no, you have this many here, and that could help dictate that recommendation. But I think like if you don't either do it or don't do it, and kind of getting in this weird gray area is like, why are you spending taxpayer dollars on, or resources on this thing that, hey, there already are regulations in there. But I think if you're going to come at it from a safety point of view, don't forget the long-term housing, because those are some of the places that can get overlooked. And yes, they're required to have these things, but it's really your hotels, and once you get to a certain point, hey, they have annual inspections. They have that. Once you get you're renting something, the follow-up isn't always there. And one thing that prompted this discussion, one of a bunch of things, but fire department showed up to a place that had I don't know if it was a real fire or a alarm, but back barn was a rental. Fire department had no idea that there was people living up there or people staying up there, and that was a safety concern. Are you gonna be able to solve that all the time? No, but having this, having the third party that looks at the listings online. Oh, here's this place that's being listed. It's not on the registry. Give them a call. Hey, just make sure you're up to code. Hey, now the fire department knows about it.
Rick, it was water, it wasn't sewer.
It was water?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes,
And
and
then
they put in the new well?
yes, because they put the new well in.
And Bruce, you brought up a good point about our building permits. I mean, it desperately needs to be updated. I think it's from the 70s.
Yes,
There could be something in there, question, is this going to be a short-term rental? And then just have information on what they're going to do. I think short-term rental regulations are pretty much out of the question for Cavendish, in my opinion, for the moment, because we have no zoning.
Exactly.
And I think that was where the board was coming from, is like, just what did we need to do? Do we need to do anything?
Right.
Because we didn't know.
We didn't know. And, and I wasn't trying to dodge your questions, Miguel, but I can't speak for the board on what direction.
Oh yeah,
They want you
I
to
know. I know you're just one person, sir. But it's good that we had two representatives here tonight, because again, that's
And it sounds like maybe that you're ready to go, as, no town manager hat on, but it sounds like the board's ready to go with the recommendation to the board saying that.
yeah, and
So return to sender.
you can't, like, as far as like the building permits go, and the junkyard ordinances and the noise ordinances, all these various things that we have that we don't enforce.
It's a real struggle.
You can't just say, well, the select board will do it, because it's gonna fall on the town manager, Rick. And having worked in the office, you don't have time to chase all those threads. You really don't.
The one thing I will add is just keep an eye on what's happening in Montpelier, because if they come out with a regulation on short-term rentals, chances are if the town has something, that would supersede what the state has. And what the state has proposed has been very restrictive, as in you need to be a full-time resident of Vermont in order to do this. You need to have, it needs to be your primary residence or different things like that. It didn't go anywhere. That was a couple years ago, but I know it's been coming up in discussion again. So just keeping local control, even if it's just saying, hey, we want you to fill this out if you're renting.
I think
Your name, but
I think you made a great point, Tim, in updating our building permit codes, or our building permit process from the 70s, is that we can come out at this from a different angle and revise those, update them, and any new type of addition, construction, any type of remodel, there is a box that you need to check.
Right.
And then we have that.
because really whatever you're doing, it's nothing other than just like code requirements. So as long, whether you're doing it for long-term rental, short-term rental, hey, you want to add it on and maybe in 10 years you're going to do something, might as well, put that egress window in, or, do that kind of thing. Coming at it from an education standpoint, I think is definitely a great start of just letting people know, because that's the other thing, is most people, they want to play by the rules. They want to be safe, especially when it's all it is safety, whether it's you staying in it or you're renting in it. Like, you want your family to be safe as well.
That's right.
And like you said, with no zoning, it makes it difficult. And it makes even our building permits difficult.
That's
Because when
right.
people will call and say, is there zoning? We say no. And then I'm driving around and there's a new house going up. There's no building permits. It's kind of the Wild West out there a little bit with building. And I don't know how I even get the word out that there is building permits, because they've been there a very long time. They just don't get filled out. So that would be another difficult thing to try to try to police or manage is that as well. But I can't disagree with that.
Okay. Well, do we want to kind of conclude our study here and make a recommendation?
Ken?
I mean, the consensus is that, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, maybe just kind of leave it status quo, maybe update the building permit applications.
At a minimum, I think that's kind of the best avenue to approach this.
Mm-hmm.
I think the information that Noah provided, I think that's a cost that this town and in our particular situation, along with the other towns, is just not feasible.
Mm-hmm.
So even though that is a resource, kind of
Or eye
thing.
on the state too.
That's right. Let's see what the state's going to do.
Did you say we should have something in place before the state's decision would be
I think
beneficial?
just keep an eye on it. Talk to talk to the representatives and see what, does it, if they came out with something, hey, if we got something, does that allow us to have precedent?
As far as I know, there's no traction in Montpelier.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
So is this still a work in progress? And are we moving it? Are we thinking about giving it back to the select board to deliberate more, or are we going to?
Do they want a letter? Do they just want like something in our meeting that we don't think that pursuing this is in the best interest of the town any further?
I think it could be pretty informal. I mean, we could go to the select board at one of their meetings and just.
I can put it on the agenda when.
Yeah, not really
that's
that
ready.
we don't think
We haven't come up with a good solution yet, so maybe we just send it forward to see what are the resources we might need. As
Yeah,
Noah
it's probably-
suggested, some more information.
It's not really a problem right now.
Right.
Keep an eye on it, and if you keep next couple of years out, people are complaining or something like that, okay, maybe you readdress it. But
Yeah, I think if we want it, I think it's great for Cavendish to let it be known that we're pro Airbnb and pro VRBO, because I think that's the connotation, that negative connotation that's being applied and being pursued by a lot of our neighboring towns. They see this as a negative to where you have to see it as a positive. It is unfortunate that these homes, when they were sold, were an investment property, and that precluded somebody from moving in as a family. But, that home was sold by, possibly a lifetime Vermonter who invested in that property, and they wanted their, the most money for their investment over that time.
And
So
I
it's
don't
nobody's
think
fault. It's nobody's fault with, where we are. It's just like you said, it's the evolution of the realty market and overall. So I think we just need to be, let it be known that Cavendish is very supportive and, welcomes all Airbnb rental properties as long as they're safe and they follow, state regulations and guidelines.
And most of these are not investment properties. They are used by second homeowners a percentage of the time, and they rent it out the other time. And it allows, they like Cavendish, they like Proctor, so they like the community, want to be a part of it, and they use this as supplemental income. It could even be full-time residents that, hey, we go away, or we have that extra space, we're going to do that. So the majority of places they're invested in the community, and this is just a way that they help support it, and that also brings more traffic. Where instead of it being used 20% of the year, maybe it's used 50% of the year, and you get additional people coming through town, spending money, going to Grafton Cheese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And I also wonder how many what the percentage. 99% of the rental properties, the owners want to do the right thing because their insurance companies will require that.
yes, that's
You'll have a couple of rogue.
They do not check though.
Oh, they don't?
No.
Unless there's
Unless
an
something
issue,
happens,
and then
maybe.
you can
Exactly.
say you
And say,
didn't
oh,
follow
yeah,
the rule.
You weren't up to code. Well,
That's right.
you were supposed to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so much information now online. If people don't know enough that they have to have egress windows and basement bedrooms, I mean, come on.
these are my insurance company, which is Travelers on the apartment, do annual inspections. inside and out.
Yeah, I think
And they tell me, well, there's something wrong.
I bet that's because it's a commercial focused.
Yes, it
Because
is.
all of ours, it's your homeowner's policy, but you're renting short term.
Yep.
And
Okay.
in some places
That
they
would be the
require
difference.
like you need to have instructions of how to use the appliances. Others they do not check. They don't do that. It's not the insurance company is not the ones that are saying, okay, yeah, you're up to code and you're doing that. Airbnb does not do that. VRBO doesn't do that. You check a box somewhere along the line that says, yes, my home is safe. But
Yeah.
It's only when there's a problem that then you find out, oh,
Yeah,
by
it's
the
never
way,
a problem till there's a
I
problem.
should have paid attention.
Yeah.
So. And you don't get reimbursed.
There's when somebody has a second home and they're using it part-time and they're renting it other times, it's a little bit of envy that goes on with that. And that's always an undercurrent as to people being
Being able to use their property that way.
because
I understand.
I don't know, like my son has a second home that he owns in conjunction with two other parties, and it's up in Burke, and they've rented it for that week of the eclipse for an outrageous amount of money.
Right.
And you know what? Good for him.
Yeah.
They're just
They're in the market.
yep.
For what the market will bear.
And they could go up there for it too, but you kind of look at saying, well, I'll stay home and watch a partial eclipse, and
and all these people, they're paying rooms and meals tax. So
that's right, they are.
it
Yeah,
is,
you have to do the
know,
quarterly filing. on
what
it,
Cavendish actually gets out of it is, another question. But they are benefiting the state economy for sure.
Okay. Any other
I don't
discussion?
know where to go from here.
Well, I think we kind of answered our own question. I mean, kind of really not pursue the
Table
short-term.
this? Are we tabling it or sending it? Or
No, we'll go to the select board meeting and just.
we don't
tell them.
have to make a motion or anything.
No.
Okay.
We
Just as you said, an informal.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can put it on the agenda for even Monday if you wanted. Or
I won't be here, but if someone else wants to
I'll
go.
come to it's the organizational meeting, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, I'll come to that.
okay. So I can put it on there. Just
I'll be there.
Okay. Well, good.
Okay.
All right. Well, good job on everybody on that. Okay. Now to the meat of the meeting here, elections.
Yep.
We have chair, vice chair, secretary, and the marked representative. So we can, we'll have to vote on these. For chair, I'm willing to do it again unless someone feels they want to do it. I'm totally okay with that.
You should
Need a
be.
motion? I'll so move if we do. I don't
Or do you
know.
need someone else to nominate you?
Yeah.
I think you've been doing such a great job, Tim. You're awesome. Best chair ever. I nominate you again.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. Well, thanks.
All in favor.
All in favor? Oh, yeah.
Actually, I should have said any discussion as vice chair. You can't.
No, never mind. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, vice chair, somebody's got to nominate me.
That's right. Okay. Well, we got to get through the first nomination.
That's you.
Yeah.
We did.
We all
We
did.
just
Okay.
did.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Vice chair. Is anybody interested? Bruce, are you willing to?
I'll nominate Bruce McEnany
Okay.
for vice chair.
All right. Secretary. We could bring this up the next meeting, but or the next agenda. Noah, I assume.
I guess formally, I would like to submit my resignation
Okay.
from the board.
Regretfully.
Regretfully,
I'll-
yes.
I'll accept it.
thank you for all your work.
Yeah, really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
And
Come back. and see
Maybe I
us.
will be back and
Yeah.
being able to fully be here and do that.
okay.
It's been good.
So that leaves us with an open nomination. Is anybody interested?
I'll do secretary duties. It's only a year. It'll go by fast.
Okay.
All
Say
right,
that.
I nominate Miguel as secretary.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
That was pretty informal, but I guess it's all legally binding. Nobody seconded my nomination.
Well, that's what I was.
I thought it. Oh,
Yeah.
You did.
I'll
I thought
second it
Miguel
for the
did.
record. I'll second it.
Shirley made a motion to appoint Bruce as vice chair.
I'll second it.
Okay. There we go. All right. Fantastic. We got through that. Review correspondence. We don't have any.
Mark representative, I've been happy doing that. I'm happy to continue. But if somebody else wants to enjoy that position,
Are you-
that's
Yeah, you go to a
good
lot
for
of
me too.
cocktail parties I see on the email.
I just went to one. One
I think you enjoy that.
One
So
dinner.
With the
go
holiday
ahead,
party.
Go ahead,
I
enjoy
went to the
yourself.
holiday
Yeah,
party.
good.
That was lovely. Yes.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate what you do for that. And
Well, it's just communication for the most part. Yeah.
You go to the meetings or you doing them on Zoom?
I did 2 on Zoom. Otherwise, I go. So I
did
think
that
they
for
like to have
years.
people's presence. What
I was a Cavendish representative for years on
Yeah.
that.
nice group of people.
Yep.
So if somebody else wants to do that, you're welcome to enjoy the thing. But I'm happy to continue.
Get you out of the house.
Yeah.
You
okay.
seem to be enjoying it, Miss Clark. So I nominate you again.
Oh, thank you.
And I'll second that. All in favor? You got
Aye.
And Shannon, I guess you get the organizational meeting for next month. Is that something we'd love to have you stay on as the rep liaison?
Sure.
Okay.
If you have me, I'll sit in the corner.
Shannon's,
No.
Shannon's a very busy person.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. Okay, so we're done with that? Okay. Any old business, new business?
No.
I can't think of anything.
Well, just an update on the Fletcher Farm trails, which do involve Cavendish.
Oh, that's right. Yes, still involved in the Act 250 process. Almost through with it. They had some questions on stream crossings, which have been resolved. And there's also, I'm going to meet with the wetlands biologist as soon as all the snow melts.
It's the trail behind.
The trail behind the dining hall, 5 miles of trails behind the dining hall.
Right. That's been in progress for a while.
Yeah, the Act 250, it takes a while. So we're hoping that we get approval here in May and then start construction.
It's also another old business, a continuing old business. The trail from the underpass to
Oh, yeah, Proctor Piper.
Proctor Piper onto what's the hill?
Yes, White's Hill?
No, not White's Hill.
Oh,
Proctorsville side.
oh
Out of
Yeah,
John
Pratt
Blank.
Hill.
Pratt Hill.
yeah.
How's that?
Good. They put in the kiosk is all in, so that main trail, that's been completed. The map is there. We're proposing a loop trail that goes up higher. And so what the state is doing now, they have a counter. They want to see how many users are using the trail, the existing trail. And if there's quite a bit of usage on that trail, I think they're going to make us do like stream crossings, boardwalks, and preclude any logging in that section. Because originally they wanted it to, not do as much trail work because if they wanted to log it. But I think now their thinking is maybe not log that area at all.
Is there a threshold of walkers?
I have no idea. But anecdotally, there's getting a lot of feedback that people are using it. So
You have, huh?
yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Is it suitable for bicycles?
No bikes allowed. It
Okay.
isn't really because there's a lot of
Yeah.
stream crossings and it's wet. So yeah, that's where we are with that.
I mentioned my son in that second home that they have up in Burke. That was all about accessing Kingdom Trails.
Oh yeah.
That's why they bought it.
Oh great. That's transformed those trails have transformed that whole region. I mean, it's a lot of money flowing in now, a lot of tourism.
Which is really really remarkable because it's kicked in just as the snowmobiles have started to dwindle.
Mm-hmm. And then
That's that sport. Granted, mountain bikes can be expensive, but like
Doesn't
everyone
have
has
to
a
be.
bike, and it's really cool to see those kind of recreation things happening in this area where it's been kind of this desert, and it's something that locals really can do, and it's not go up to Okemo, and that's an expensive sport, but really
And snowmobiles are expensive.
How do you get that
Snowmobiles are
on trail
expensive.
forks and stuff like that? Do you know how?
Oh, what?
Do you know what trail forks is?
Yeah.
Because you go on trail forks. I just looked. There's no mention of any trails around here.
that's a good question. We tried to get it on all trails, but the
Or
state,
all trails, yeah.
the state wants to do that. They want to be in charge of doing all that.
I was just curious because how
Yeah,
But probably the bike trails would be done through Bimba, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
that, right?
That's right. Yep.
What's
Well,
Vinma?
huh?
What's Vinma?
That's
For
the
Mountain
Mountain
Bike.
Bike Association. It's an statewide organization. They provide all sorts of resources, grant money. It's a really good organization.
So that's what the bike trails are. Their last is a part of.
That's
part
right.
of that.
Yep. And last they'll be the ones maintaining and building the Fletcher Farm trails.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So they'll be bikeable.
Oh yeah, those will be absolutely.
So they're a true recreation trail then, not just a walking trail.
They're both right. They're
Yeah.
walking and mountain biking
Neat.
and snowshoeing.
Yep.
And cross-country
Cross-country
skiing.
skiing.
Yep.
Is there a potential completion date for?
Oh gosh, once we get the permit, it's going to take probably 2 years because there's 5 miles.
Okay.
But
They do them all by hand.
yeah, there'll be some machine built. Some areas where will need a small excavator, but they want to do. There's going to be like a kid's half pipe, a natural half pipe. They're going to build. That'll be phase 1. A climb trail that goes all the way up to the power lines and then comes back down. So we had a trail designer design them pro bono. So
Good.
yeah.
Who's going to do the construction, such as it is?
Well, it'll be all volunteers.
Sign me up.
Okay. And we got some really cool tools
I'll
from
help with
Bemba for new organizations. It's almost like a welcome kit, like fire. Was it the McClellan tools? They use them for building fire breaks. And so
So then
I
incentive
got
for volunteers, is that what you're saying?
yeah. And they have quite a big volunteer or email list. It's hundreds of people. So there's a big demand for it in town. I mean,
Yeah, I've got I have all kinds of tools, including
Yeah.
the tractor.
oh, good.
So
Okay.
you've got your
Yeah.
Bobcat.
That's right. And there's going to be a 30-foot long, at the Fletcher Farm Trails, there's going to be a 30-foot long log bridge that goes over a stream. So that'll all be built on site. It's exciting. And they're not that hard to build.
To get a
they're fun to
film
build.
crew in there.
Yeah. So that's it on that. I don't know if there's anything else.
On old business.
Oh yeah.
I've just got a question because you had forwarded me the stuff on the energy chapter, which was going to be on this Monday's meeting as well.
Not the hearing.
No,
Okay.
but
Right.
presenting it to the board or giving it to the board that was the timeline, right?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a redo, right? The hearing, the select board hearing, because we had to.
Because we had the little snafu.
Oh yeah.
No, that was the local hazard mitigation plan.
Well, no, we had the snafu for the energy chapter was that it wasn't sent to all the surrounding towns. So we did that. I did that and corrected that.
And then but it's recommended,
Yes,
it's going to the board on Monday.
that's right. And so if Monday they could set a date for the rehearing, that would be good. Because again, I won't be here. But, I guess the subdivision forum, that's the 24th of April. I mean, at some point, maybe at our next meeting, we can kind of drill down and figure out who's going to do what, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, we discussed just getting pizzas, and maybe if somebody's interested in doing desserts or whatever, we could make that a group effort.
Okay.
Whatever. Figure that out then.
I have no idea what kind of crowd we'll get.
I don't either. I'm hoping more.
No idea.
I was going to talk to Jason to see if he could do some sort of PowerPoint presentation, kind of why, where we're doing it, some information on it.
We almost need a sandwich board sign that people drive by with the date. And
Oh, yeah.
something like that outside of our, so people are aware and can.
Free food.
Come on in.
We're coming
Yeah.
to take your property rights.
We're coming to take your property.
Who
No.
does that sort of thing, and is it deemed worthwhile at all? Just a public,
Oh, like a sandwich board?
yeah.
I don't know.
type of-
What?
A sandwich board?
What
Maybe
about
we could put the town, maybe like use one of their vote.
Yeah.
Town meeting.
Yep, we can enlist Margot to plaster it all over social
There
media.
you go.
Yeah.
She could do that.
Yep. So that'll be coming up. And that'll give us a good idea kind of where to go. I remember years ago, Bruce, you were there, we were proposing zoning.
No, it was a subdivision. I wasn't with the
Oh, that's
zoning.
right. That's
It
right.
was the subdivision regulations.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I wasn't here for that, but it had to be 1994, 1995. And we had a big crowd, but we had a big spaghetti dinner and people were pretty vocal. And then during the hearings, it didn't go quite well. So
No,
I don't know how it would go today.
I don't think. I think it still would have stiff opposition.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, I do.
And, zoning isn't the greatest thing. It can really ruin a town if it's
Can.
because they need to be really strict and
Yeah,
everything needs to be spelled out,
yeah.
which can
And
really...
you draw and you draw lines on maps.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're on this side of the line, you're happy, but you're on that side of the line, you're unhappy. So it's quite divisive.
Right.
And I'll just, as time goes on, I'll just go say, I'm fully in favor of subdivision regulations
Right.
because when people don't subdivide properly, it causes the town problems. Driveways that wash out onto the road.
Mm-hmm.
The problems with my biggest thing is always drainage. People,
Right.
no subdivision regulations. Go in and put in the worst kind of driveway you could imagine, and then let the chips fall where they may. So I think subdivision regulations, in as much as they just foster good engineering.
That's right. They foster good engineering and good design and good neighbors.
I don't feel quite as gung-ho on zoning though.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I hate to see the point where the town is forced into it.
Yeah.
Retroactive for a town that's just an organic growing town on a river is complicated.
I hate the idea of having to have a junkyard ordinance and fining people because they have derelict cars and appliances and things on their property. We shouldn't have to do that. People should have pride in their property
Mm-hmm.
and just take care of their land, but
Right.
they don't.
Right. And, Cavendish isn't Woodstock. I mean, Woodstock has very strict zoning regulations. It even covers like the color of the building and that just will not
because
fly
they
here.
do have a historic district.
They do.
So
They
that
do.
goes over and above zoning.
Yeah. And for, we have Act 250 at the moment will really cover any development over an acre, any commercial development.
Well, the states really they really changed it with their new housing stuff, where like Ludlow has zoning that requires certain things, but all of a sudden with this, you can do a 5-plex in these traditionally single family homes with just over the counter permit.
Yeah.
So. yeah, it's not as, it can always change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so hopefully we can table that for a few years. So, and then the affordable housing, I haven't heard anything from Jason, but I can, for the next meeting, reach out to see if there's anything we need to discuss, or if anybody has any ideas of people who may be interested and, whose properties they may be interested in doing affordable housing. That might be a good thing. I have somebody I've talked to informally, but we'll see how that goes. Maybe I can get them to come to a meeting or whatever. But so I guess, is there anything else? Any other old new business? Okay.
Was this your last meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, everybody.